to this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing pole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
Hi there, come on in. If you're watching this show and not watching coverage of the war on Iraq, you're probably looking for some escape. Well, we're not going to stick our heads in the sand and avoid talking about what's happening, because I do believe that hunting and fishing are extremely valuable to our homeland security. And I'm going to explain why. I think you're going to find this presentation interesting.
I'll be highlighting a few outdoor headlines and cover the latest outdoor conditions in the Guides Report. Plus, we have more, so stay tuned. I'm Zachary Trost.
And I'm Fred Trost with the March 27th, 2003 edition of the Practical Sportsman. The youth of America has replaced doing things outdoors with doing things indoors, and they call it virtual reality. But staying home in their rooms, these kids are doing what sociologists call cocooning. In our first Practical Sportsman Foundation newsletter, I wrote an article that I called Hunting, Fishing, and Homeland Security, where I explained why I don't think we can afford to let the outdoors slip in popularity, even though society has been taking the position that hunting and fishing and the shooting sports are politically incorrect. Now, my starting point is the idea that the value of outdoor experiences goes way beyond recreation. And if hunting, fishing, and the shooting sports continue to decline, our lives will become less secure. Now, it's important to face the fact that hunting and fishing license sales have been steadily declining over the past 10 years. There's been a ripple effect on just about every outdoor-related business in the past 10 years. Hunting revenues have dropped 12%. Revenues from fishing have dropped 17%. Sportsmen aren't participating like they used to, and they aren't spending like they used to. And this downward spiral just shows no signs of ending. And what's been perplexing is that this outdoor decline hasn't been triggered by any particular event. These declines aren't limited just to hunting and fishing either. All kinds of competitive sports and memberships in clubs and many recreational activities have seen similar drops in participation. But where is this dropout rate most severe? Well, it's with kids. The youth of America has replaced doing things outdoors with doing things indoors, and they call it virtual reality. But staying home in their rooms, these kids are doing what sociologists call cocooning. They're balled up in their own little fantasy worlds of computer games, music, television, and the internet. The problem with cocooning is that this virtual reality has replaced real reality. Computer games, unfortunately, don't teach kids how to solve real-life problems, and society is going to suffer for that. Like to win the war against terror, we have to have the resolve to defend our values. And I'm talking about values. How do kids learn values from computer games? To win the war against terror, we have to have the skills to make us self-sufficient during periods of chaos that will undoubtedly happen after a terrorist attack. And we have to have the determination to persevere. But a person who cocoons and spends his life in the world of computer screens and earphones over their ears, they don't develop these real-life skills or real-life values. Now, when you look at it this way, cocooning itself is terrorizing. You know, what happened on 9/11 was terrorism, and we call it that because it terrified us. But the actions of Islamic extremists aren't traditional terrorism. They aren't waging a traditional war either over money or land or resources or things that we kind of value here in America. What we call terrorism is actually what they see as a religious war over cultural values, and we are the devil. We're Satan in their eyes. These terrorists, they just don't disagree with our attitudes. They detest our beliefs. They feel it's their God-given mission to destroy our freedom of speech, freedom of religion. They don't believe in equality for women. They look with horror and disgust at our movies and television shows and radio shows and the books and the music we have here in America. The values that we teach here shake the foundations of their religious values. And the really scary thing is that they believe that their God will actually reward them for carrying out suicide missions to kill us. There is absolutely no reasoning, no middle ground with people who think this way. And even though our most important value in this country is freedom, opinion surveys have been showing that a significant number of Americans are willing to give up or cash in some of their constitutional freedoms under the theory that giving the government more power and the people less power will somehow make us happier and safer. Well, if that's true, the people who live under dictatorship should be the happiest and safest of all. But American life and American values are all about the freedom of choice, the freedom to choose what we want to do as long as it doesn't harm other people. I mean, definitely a person who's living inside an electronic cocoon, watching the boob tube and staring at a computer screen isn't hurting anybody, but a cocooner isn't helping anybody either. And when it comes to homeland security or personal protection, there's no security in a cocoon. And here's the problem. Government doesn't really want us to defend ourselves. They don't want us to, what they call, take the law into our own hands. They want us to call for help, let the professionals protect us. But dialing 911 was no protection on 9/11. Those heroes in the airplane over Pennsylvania possibly prevented that plane from plunging into the White House, all because some of the passengers got together. They had enough resolve and passion to take the law into their own hands. And in the war against terror, that has to happen. And I think that if more people adopted the traditional values that we pick up as hunters and fishermen, our country would be more secure. I mean, after a terrorist attack that might shut down the power and cut off our water and contaminate food supplies, how many cocooners would have the presence of mind to deal with what's necessary for survival? How many would have the skills to survive without their computers and cell phones and microwave ovens? I know that cocooners can slay dragons and shoot criminals in video games, but how many could really defend their families against real live terrorists? When push comes to shove, mark my words, it will be hunters, campers, shooters, fishermen who will have the equipment, the knowledge, the experience, and the right attitudes that will not only protect them and their families, but they'll be prepared to lead others through these fearful times. But there's a problem. Like I said, the number of hunters and fishermen have been going down. We really need to turn this around, and I believe we have to do this through education. Now, one of the missions of our Practical Sportsman Foundation is to use this television show as a teaching tool to bring more people into the real world and away from virtual reality. And we believe we can do this best through, what I call the Big Five outdoor activities: hunting, fishing, camping, trapping, and the shooting sports. Nothing against competitive team sports, but organized games don't really prepare kids for survival in the natural world. I mean, golfing is fun, but don't call a golfer for homeland defense. Golfer might master the skills of driving an electric cart, or putting on a wet green, or using a wedge in a sand trap, or washing his balls. But these skills aren't very useful during a terrorist attack. A tennis pro, a home run hitter, a 300 bowler, a skateboarder, a pool shark, a pinball wizard, all of these people have impressive skills, but nothing that puts food on the table. On the other hand, hunters and shooters and campers develop extremely practical skills such as gathering food, starting a fire, butchering and cooking wild meat, purifying water, navigating by the stars, building a shelter, keeping warm, reading the weather, knowing animal behavior, following tracks, camouflaging, first aid, setting traps, using weapons for food gathering or for self-defense. Hunters and campers are the people who are best prepared for survival and will be the most useful leaders when it comes to homeland defense. But how do we attract more people and more kids to these activities? Well, I think by emphasizing the same thing that attracts kids to cocooning, and that is a three-letter word: fun. I think there are three main ingredients to making the outdoors fun for newcomers. One is teaching simple techniques. Two is making it cool to use inexpensive equipment. And three is by teaching them the proper mental attitude. I mean, the attitude, that's the real key to fun, because fun is a perception, something you feel. I mean, it's in your head. You probably noticed that this TV show is not about selling sporting goods, not about pushing products, not about creating competition or pandering to politics. We're dedicated to educating about ideas and teaching individual values. See, not everybody agrees on what our values should be, but in this article, I suggest three for starters. One is live and let live. Don't try to control how others find their fun. Focus on your own methods of enjoyment. Another is that hunting and fishing for food is honorable. Historically, hunting and fishing have been like gardening, food gathering activities, not contests for money and prizes. A third value is that how you spend your time is far more important than how you spend your money. Now, it's true that a fly rod might cost $400, a scent-lock suit $375, a new 4x4 truck can run $40 grand, but the time you spend outdoors with family and friends is priceless. That's my article in a nutshell. And I close with the reminder that it isn't just the younger generation that's missing the traditional values. A lot of older sportsmen seem to have lost the ability to have fun outdoors. That's why we teach newcomers who never knew, as well as the old salts who seem to have forgotten, where the fun is. That's the mission of the Practical Sportsman Foundation, and if we're successful in familiarizing more people with the values and the skills that can only be learned through outdoor activities, I think America's homeland will be more secure. I believe that. That's how I see it.
Fred talks about introducing kids to the fun of fishing and hunting, and here's a story from a youngster about her fishing experiences. Her fish aren't big trophies, but they're trophies to her. And just so we don't put too much emphasis on catching big fish as the end-all and be-all of fishing, we've changed the title of this segment from Trophy Tales to Fish Tales.
This is Lauren, whose father is
Tim Hayes,
and what does he do for a living?
taxidermy work.
Does he do pretty good taxidermy?
Yeah.
I guess so. Look at this. He did this for you as, wasn't this a birthday present?
Yes, it was.
Well, tell me more about it.
I could tell you the story.
Go ahead.
My dad would probably get mad at me, but we were up we were up in Canada where my grandparents live, and we were fishing in Lake Manitou, and I caught a fish, and then I caught another, and I got 3 tugs, and my dad got 0.
Oh, my. Oh, now, what is the story on this little bluegill?
When I was 3 years old, my dad taught me how to fish, and this is the first fish I ever caught by myself.
Wow. How big is it?
3 inches.
How about that? A 3-inch bluegill mounted by Tim Hayes. It's really an exquisite job on that. Lauren Hayes, let's give her a round of applause for these fish. That is great. Yes, 3-inch bluegill. That's what I'm talking about.
got a chowder recipe called Basil Seafood Chowder from Patricia Hibbs. And it actually does have a lot of seafood in it. It's got shrimp and crab and everything else, plus perch. And you're going to make, it's actually like a gumbo. It's got stewed tomatoes and quite a bit of garlic, and this is just kind of diced. And then a lot of basil. It calls for a half a cup of basil.
But
right.
it is a lot.
Yep, and it seems like it'd be overly strong, but it really isn't.
Onions?
And okra.
Okra. I like okra.
Yeah.
I really do, but a lot of people don't. But that's what makes a gumbo recipe.
Right,
supposedly.
exactly. And then just some like a smaller size shrimp, right? And then crab meat. And that's all that goes into this.
And now, you know, the thing is, it actually looks pretty good right now. It
Right,
does. I
just-
mean, these ingredients one at a time as you were putting them in there. But when you cook this recipe down, look at that.
It,
good
and
looking
it
perch.
does cook down together.
It cooks
right.
down together, and it really doesn't look. you know what I mean?
No,
Kath?
exactly. It looks better like this before it cooks.
It looks a lot better, but after it's cooked, you know, we really had to coax Charlie Keenan into giving us his comment, but I knew something was up.
What? Come on, Charlie.
Well, this isn't one that I that I would file under the category of super duper.
Well, I tell you, I don't think we could enter it in any beauty contest either. You know, what did you think, Kath, as you were putting this together? Knowing
I
that-
kept saying, I hope this tastes better than it looks.
You know,
And it does. It really does. The basil comes through and the
it
tomatoes.
does. It does, but this should be renamed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be something like peekaboo soup. Or,
Eat in the dark.
Yeah, a candlelight.
Yeah, courage soup. Courage
That's,
soup.
that's a good one.
This is this is a nice recipe. For
It's
those,
mild. It's
for those
definitely-
people who if you don't like shrimp,
Right.
you should try this recipe because you can't taste any of the shrimp.
No, I can taste it.
I think you can taste the shrimp and the crab and the perch, but it's really mild. I was surprised at how mild it was.
This is for somebody who likes seafood gumbo. That really likes, is into seafood Cajun and all that type of
Be
thing.
great with wild rice or something like that in it.
Yeah, and we are just about out of time for this program. Get outdoors if you can this weekend. With this weather, it's a great place to be.
We'll see you right here next week.